This is the smoking gun. This is a document that turned the presidency into a crime scene. If you are watching this, you probably lost money this week. Maybe you lost a little. Maybe you lost your life savings. You saw the headlines. You saw the tweets. You saw the President of the United States stand on a stage in Davos and declare with the full weight of his office that the United States had secured exclusive sovereign rights to the mineral wealth of Greenland. You watched the stock ticker for Greenland Resources Corporation, or GRC, go from $2 to $200 in 48 hours. You watched the entire MAGA movement, the institutional investors, and the pension funds pour billions into what they were told was a deal of the century. And then you watched it go to zero. As of 6 a.m. this morning, Monday, January 26, 2026, we know why. A massive data leak being called the Arctic Papers has just been dumped onto the dark web by the activist collective, the Glass House. It contains 50,000 emails, encrypted signal chats, and bank transfer records from the inner circle of the Trump White House. And what it reveals is not a diplomatic misunderstanding. It is not a negotiation tactic. It reveals a premeditated, mathematically precise financial crime. The documents show that there never was a deal. The Danish government never agreed to sell. The local parliament in Nuuk never agreed to lease the treaty that Trump waved around at his rallies. It was a non-binding cultural exchange memorandum that his team knowingly mistranslated and presented to the world as a property deed. Why? Because they needed the cash. The leak exposes a direct link between the Greenland pump and the Japan bond crash. It shows that key administration insiders and a mysterious shell company registered in the Cayman Islands were facing catastrophic margin calls on Monday. They needed a liquidity event. They needed a bubble. So they manufactured one. We're going to walk you through the anatomy of the biggest pump and dump scheme in human history. We're going to name the shell companies. We're going to read you the emails where they joke about selling ice to the Eskimos. And we're going to explain why the SEC, the DOJ, and the Southern District of New York are currently in a race to see who can indict the president's inner circle first. The Greenland deal wasn't statecraft. It was a rug pull, and you were the mark. To understand how they pulled this off, we have to go back to the setup. The genius of this scam was that it relied on a kernel of truth. Everyone knows Greenland is valuable. It has rare earth elements, Res, neodymium, prosium, terbium. These are the vitamins of the modern economy. You can't build an F-35 fighter jet, a Tesla battery, or an iPhone without them. Currently, China controls 90% of the supply. For years, the U.S. deep state has legitimately wanted to break that monopoly. The Pentagon does want access to Greenland. Trump's team took that legitimate strategic desire and weaponized it for profit. The timeline of deception. January 10th, the first rumors leak. Sources tell Fox Business that a historic agreement is near. GRC stock, a dormant penny stock with no employees and one expired mining permit, jumps from $210 to $5. January 15th, the president tweets, Greenland is coming home. Huge news soon. China's out. The stock hits 25. Retail investors start piling in. The Trump train forms are on fire. They are calling it the Louisiana Purchase 2.0. January 20th, inauguration anniversary. The press secretary holds a briefing. She holds up a thick document bound in leather. She says, the president has signed a framework for resource sovereignty. She doesn't release the text. She just holds it up. The stock hits $80. January 22nd, the Davos speech. This was the climax. Trump stands on the world stage and says, we have total control. He explicitly mentions Greenland Resources Corporation as a primary partner for development. This is the illegal part. A sitting president pumping a specific penny stock from a podium. The stock hits $200. The market cap of this empty shell company briefly exceeds Ford Motor Company. The reality, what was in that leather binder? According to the Arctic Papers, it was a draft copy of a 2019 climate study. What did the Danes actually sign? They signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Arctic Research and Education. It authorized a few student exchanges and a joint study on polar bears. That's it. There were no mining rights. There was no sovereignty transfer. There was no exclusion zone for China. The entire narrative was a fabrication designed to last exactly 1 week, just long enough for the insiders to sell at the top, and sell they did. Let's get into the documents. This is the evidence that will put people in prison. The leak contains a folder titled Project Iceberg. This appears to be the internal code name for the operation. Email number 1, dated January 5th, 2026 from Advisor A. We are redacting the name for YouTube policy, but think son-in-law archetype to senior hedge fund manager at Polaris Capital. Subject, the liquidity problem. Text, we are underwater on the yen trade. The Japan thing is going to blow up in our faces next week. We need a bridge. How fast can we move the GRC vehicle? Reply, the vehicle is ready. We control 85% of flow through the offshore shells, but we need a catalyst. We need volume. Can the big guy drop the news before the Japan margin calls hit on Tuesday? Email number 2, dated January 12th, 2026. From White House Comms Director to Advisor A. Subject, the map text. The Danes are freaking out. They say they haven't agreed to anything. The Prime Minister is refusing to take the call. Reply from Advisor A. It doesn't matter what they say. We just need the headline to stick for 72 hours. Run the map graphic with the U.S. flag over nuke. Fox will pick it up. By the time the Danes issue a denial, we will be out. By the time they issue a denial, we will be out. That is the line. That is the proof of intent to defraud. They knew it was fake. They knew the correction was coming. They just needed a 3-day window to dump their shares on the American public. The Algorithm 45 chat logs. The leak also contains logs from an encrypted chat group used by the War Room. They discuss using bot farms to hype the stock on Reddit and X. User MAGA Whale writes, get the meme team on GRC. Tell them it's the crypto killer. Tell them it's backed by gold. User West Wing actual replies done. The boss is going to mention it in the Soto preview. This is market manipulation on an industrial scale coordinated from the executive branch. So, who made the money and where did it go? The Glass House didn't just leak emails. They leaked the blockchain transaction IDs and the SwiftWire logs. The shell company Greenland Resources Corporation GRC. This company was incorporated in Delaware in 2024. It listed its headquarters as a P.O. box in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Its CEO is a man named Lars Jensen. Reporters tracked Lars Jensen down this morning. He is a ski instructor in Aspen who used a caddy for a certain Trump family member. He was a straw man. The shareholders, the cap table of GRC, was hidden behind a maze of LLCs. Patriot Holdings LLC, Cayman Islands, Arctic Strategy Fund, Cyprus, Freedom Minerals Ltd, Bermuda. The leak decodes these LLCs. They trace back to a trust fund managed by the family office of a senior White House advisor. And most explosively, one of the accounts traces back to a blind trust associated with the president himself. The cash out. On Thursday, January 22nd, the day of the Davos speech, the day the stock hit 200, these 3 LLCs sold $4.2 billion worth of stock. They sold into the rally. They sold to the pension funds. They sold to the retail investors. They sold to the MAGA mom and pop who thought they were buying a piece of American history, the connection to Japan. This is the crucial piece of the puzzle. Why did they need $4 billion right now? Because of the Japan bond crash. The leak shows that this same family office was heavily leveraged in the yen carry trade. When the Bank of Japan raised rates on Monday, they got a margin call for roughly $3.5 billion. If they hadn't paid it, they would have been insolvent. Their empire would have collapsed. So they used the Greenland hoax to rob the American public to pay off their Japanese debts. They transferred the wealth of the middle class to the Japanese banks to save their own skin. It is a Ponzi scheme built on top of a geopolitical crisis. While the financial crime is complex, the diplomatic crime is simple. We have now heard from the Danish government. They are no longer being polite. The Danish foreign minister gave a press conference an hour ago. He held up the memorandum that Trump claimed was a deed. This document, he said, shaking with anger, is a standard agreement to share weather data. It is 3 pages long. It does not mention mining. It does not mention sovereignty. It does not mention a lease. The president of the